Hello, I thought I would take this opportunity to show you or send you a link through email so that you can possibly help your student find their way around what we're doing. I think some of them are getting lost and they're not really asking me for help. Hopefully you might be able to guide them through this, and I will send this link to you and your students both. So maybe they can find their way around a little more helpfully too. So let's jump in and get this started, and we'll see. I'll try not to make this a very long video, but I do want to give you enough information that you can find it helpful. I'm going to share my screen here for a moment, and I want to show you a few things that, as I said, might be helpful to have your students find their way around the course. So, sorry, I apologize. I'm already into the course here. When the students first click on their dashboard in Canvas, we will always start everything in Canvas. I mean, that's where students should go to find out what they're going to be doing. Right? They will have their list of courses. This one is called ZAUG 2021, Semester 1 Conceptual Physics. And this is our homepage. This is where everything launches from to start with. There are some things that I want to point out on this page. You can schedule a meeting with me. This is where you would schedule a one-on-one Teams meeting. I have most mornings one scheduled before school, one scheduled after school. On Tuesday evenings, I have a few evening appointments. It is set so that you cannot set an appointment, I believe, more than or less than 2 hours in advance. That way I don't just have a meeting that pops up that I'm not aware of. So that is an option for you. There are things that are in modules in Canvas that we don't get into a lot anymore, but there were things that the students are supposed to look at the first week of school and how to get in and work some of this stuff. If they didn't do that, that might still be why they're having some issues, so they can still go back and click on the Canvas orientation to find out about Canvas, this external software orientation to find out about some of the other software we're using, and that's some of the things I want to lead you through, hopefully relatively quickly but thoroughly in this video. Link to Infinite Campus. There are links to these. The actual topics, when I first built the course, I was going to build it under modules, but then the kids are jumping back and forth between a lot of things. There are still things under modules and assignments that they are taken to, but now I've tried to build everything around our daily announcement page. So if they come to Canvas first, I should suggest they always go to the daily announcement page first, check out what's going on, and then they can always click on home and then click back up in this top link to get into our Teams meeting, unless they already have an easier way to just click and directly go into Teams. So I want to lead you through the announcement page first. As I said, I wanted to make it relatively easy for students to not have to jump around inside of Canvas. So the announcement page has the links to everything. Everything that's blue and underlined is a link for something. Right, and I started doing this after the first couple of days of class. So the first couple of days were separate announcements, but there's a week at a glance. There's the schedule. I have some other videos that I send links to, other web pages that the kids have links to. Every day we have important information in our Teams meeting. I try to remember to make an actual video of that, and it is posted here either later that day or hopefully the next day. Actually, let me show you. There's another place in Teams where they can get to these. So if they go to Teams, let me apologize, this might be kind of small if you are looking on a small computer or a phone, but if they go to Conceptual Physics and they're general, you can't really see it, but this is the chat window, right? There's a whole bunch of replies and things that have happened, but they're really all collapsed together. So if you uncollapse that, right, these are where these meetings are. This is the one right now. I've had to take a couple of starts and stops because some things weren't working quite correctly. So after they're recorded, see, that one just popped in. It took it a little while, but after they are finished rendering and recording, they will pop up in the chat. So there's that one. If we keep seeing previous replies, there will be other ones, right? That was one that happened on Friday. Right? If your student is logged on, I don't know if they see all this on the side or not, but I can do that to see who was here that day, right? So if you're that, it should show up for your student also. So if they say I was in class, right, if they showed up in Teams, they should be under this somewhere. So I use that for attendance. But in any case, that's how they can get to these videos in Teams. Or, as I said, hopefully by the end of the day or the first thing the next day, there will always be a link here that will take them to the videos. Said other helpful videos. There's information for quiz retakes. Just more videos that we have a piece of software called Pivot Labs. I'm not going to show that one to you, but there are instructions on how to log in. I think all the students have found that by now. So anyhow, I've just tried to build this all around this announcements page. This should tell them pretty much exactly what they need to do. There's lists of, okay, this is all the stuff we're going to go through today. You will see things about OneNote on here, right? I try to show exactly where that is. OneNote is probably something your students maybe haven't used before. I do want to show that to you, maybe in a little bit of detail, because it is probably, I'm thinking, the very best way for your student and I to share work back and forth. It is much, much easier if it works for your student than trying to upload and download things into Canvas. And once again, I want to make this easy. I want to make it helpful. Unfortunately, I think some of your students are having issues with OneNote. I do know a couple in particular that have some issues I've not been able to solve. I sent out a survey last week and I got some more students saying, well, it doesn't work for me, but once again, they've never told me that, so I don't know. I'm still not exactly sure what's going to happen with them because they haven't really communicated what they've tried. So I want to show you several things with OneNote in particular. I would like your student, if you're watching this, right, the students, try this. If you're a parent or guardian, try to help your students go through this. And I really need them to send me some sort of detailed information on what they're trying and what is not working. Because once again, I think this OneNote is probably the best way to get information back and forth. And once again, when we get in there, I'll show you why I'm thinking that. There were some other online things, and I can just show you one of these. There are some pretty, I think, helpful simulations online that these students can use. Right now, we're dealing with motion and graphing. So this is one where they're matching how things are moving with the graphs that they make. Right? So there's a lot of built-in practice with this. What unfortunately I am seeing when I'm going back to check students' OneNotes, over half of the students in this class aren't doing the homework, aren't doing the practice. So I don't know if that's because they're not able or they're just choosing not to do it. If they're not able, I need to know so that I can help them. If they're just choosing not to do it, that's an issue that I'm hoping you can help me with, because I don't really have much control over that. So please encourage them when they see these things out here to do them. Normally we have 25, 30, 35. It's never been more than about 40 minutes of us time together. And then I say, okay, now it is time for you to go try these things. I do see that most of the students are still connected in teams, but I also know then when I pick some students in random and try to ask them questions, they aren't there, or they don't respond. So I don't know if they're not there and have just left their computer connected, or if they've got, listening to some other music or something. I don't really know if they're doing the work or not, but then when I go to check some of the work, I'm not seeing that it's accomplished. I'm going to try very hard within the next 24 hours to personally send an email to every parent with exactly what's missing for their students and what they can do to make that up. Unfortunately, it's going to take me a while because there's a fair number of students to do that for. But in any case, this is the announcements page. This is where everything goes. I do have students saying when they come late into class, I don't know what we're doing. At this point, that really shouldn't be happening because I start every block with, okay, here's the announcements page. So I would assume by now that your students would know if they get to class late, which happens legitimately for reasons that are beyond their control, the first thing they should do is come check the announcements page. And if they still don't know what they're doing, jump on Teams and say, Mr. Zhao, okay, I've read the announcements, but I still don't know what we're doing. So that's the announcements page. OneNote, as I said, is a very powerful, I apologize, I was working on chemistry last, let's jump into conceptual physics, a very powerful piece of software that is very good for communication back and forth. Your students, if they are working on these materials, the benefit is I can put things up here and we can screen share. The students have access to everything which is under this section called Content Library. And I have notes that I do during class, right? And they stay here. They can even access these during the quizzes. I'm assuming that all of the quizzes are open note quizzes. Anything that they have in OneNote, they can use on any assessment that I'm giving them. And I will be very kind of frank. All of these were up here for our last quiz, and yet a lot of students missed these same questions. So I'm not sure why. So this is one reason I'm giving you this video. I want to make sure we're on the same page so we kind of know what is available and what can happen, right? This is an assignment that I put out here that I actually also gave to students. So what I normally do with something like this, we might take some notes and then I will pick a student, or I will put these out to the students, right? And every student has their own page also. The other thing is, if a student is working on their homework in OneNote, right, they can message me in Teams, say, Mr. Zalg, I'm lost on number 5. I have access to look at their work. So I can pull up their page, they can have their page up, they could be working on number 5, they can type something in, I can see it, they can draw on it, I can see it, I can draw it on for them. I mean, I can highlight, look at this number, I can see that in number 5, this number right here isn't quite right, where did it come from? So it's very, very interactive. So I think it's much, much more helpful, it's much more teacher and student friendly than uploading and downloading things to Canvas. But once again, that's only if it's working for your student. And if it's not working for your student, we need to know sooner rather than later. We're pretty much through our first unit. We only have a couple of more days on that unit, and we'll be starting unit 2. And the longer that these things aren't working, then the more issues we're going to have. So I want to show you just 2 things that might help more than anything else. So let me close out of some of my windows here. There are several different ways of getting into OneNote. Some are better than others. Some work better for some students than others. The way we started going in initially was through Teams. I got to get my Teams window back here again. And this does work for most students. Right, once again, if they click on Conceptual and General, and if I'm going through this too fast, I apologize. It's once again, I don't want to make this a 2-hour video, right? So you can stop, rewind, fast forward if you need to, but I'm just going to kind of keep moving through this. So if they click on Conceptual Physics in General, they should see Class Notebook up on the top. And if they click on that, it should open their OneNote Class Notebook. They have a couple of options usually. And this is where it's unfortunate. Some students are using computers from last year. Some have been updated, some have not. Some have a lot of different kind of looking tabs and things. If it has been the most updated, it looks like this, and they should have an open in browser, which they can click. And they have 2 choices, open in browser and open in app. After the last week and some issues some students have had, I will always suggest they open it in the app. If they do that, that should launch an app on their computer, which now is hiding in the background for me. If I go down here and click on it, it should launch. Oh, it is open, right? It kind of hid it in the background for me, so I had to go click there. And I think that's some things that happen with students too, and they don't quite know what's going on. So they can look for the icon that should be down in the very bottom. I don't know if you can see it's down the very bottom of my screen. I'm trying to circle it with my mouse. I can't really circle it with my OneNote tools because it's outside of the window, but it's down here. I'm not going to show you because I don't want to keep things confidential with students, but there is the content library, which is mine, that they can see. There should be a folder with their name on it. And that they have full access to. That's the stuff that I said they can see, I can see, we can kind of work on together. And right now there should be a bunch of things under notes for students. There should be some practice. There should be some things for labs, right? This is a lab that we started on Friday, which by the way, I do need to apologize. I'd forgotten one instruction in that lab that caused some students to get lost. Once again, we figured it out before the end of the block, but by the time we did that, there was about 15-20 minutes left in class. A bunch of students had left the Teams meeting, so they might have missed this. But I've put that in, and I've resubmitted all these out. So if students are trying to do the lab now, they have these corrected instructions. But once again, I think that's easier, and it's much more time efficient if the students are using this OneNote. And then here is the page that goes with that. So in any case, this is OneNote. This is kind of a background. So if they can get into Teams and everything works great, the number one issue with students that I hear is I can't type on it. Well, that's sometimes because they're in this content library. That is mine. They can read it, but they cannot write on it. They have to make sure they click on the folder with their name to try to get into things, and then they should be able to type on it. Also, sometimes they have to double click, right? Sometimes these are all grayed out no matter what a student does, and that means that there is another issue, and we've run into that with a few students. I'm not exactly sure how to solve that issue yet, so I'm trying to work with them on some other things that we can do. But once again, I mean, they can type, they can draw. anyhow, it is a very powerful piece of software. If this just does not work for students, there are a couple of other things. As I said, for some of them, when they click open in app, someone just says open an app and there's two different ones. One like has a regular, like this purple end thing, and one with the clouds. They always click the one with the clouds. So if they have just open an app, they always click the one that has the cloud behind it. That seems to work better. And if that doesn't work, I have one last thing. The last thing for OneNote to try is click under this lower left start menu button, this little window pane, and find OneNote for Windows 10. For a lot of computers, there's one that says OneNote and one that says OneNote for Windows 10. We want to use the one that says OneNote for Windows 10. That is the most updated version that seems to work better for most students. So I guess the three things for them to try: number one, make sure they're opening it in the app, not the browser. Number two, if they have a couple of choices for opening in app, always open with the one that has the cloud behind the symbol for OneNote. And number three, if that doesn't work, try opening the app directly underneath the start menu and make sure it's OneNote for Windows 10. One other thing, when they do that, sometimes things don't pop in automatically. They might have to click up here and say more notebooks, and then there will be the list of their notebooks that they have, right? And I know the math department is using OneNote quite a bit, and I do. So there might be a list of several things. There should be a list for every teacher that is using this software. So with that, I'm just going to say, I hope this is helpful. I hope your student can get in and do this work. As I said, I'm available as often as I can be. I am teaching 3 different courses this semester, so I'm kind of busy trying to get everything all accomplished. But I'll click the right button here in a moment. We'll do as best we can. Always have your students start inside of Canvas. I apologize, I clicked out of this, so let me get back in here. Take just a moment. Always have your students start inside of Canvas. Once they are in there, check the announcements page, right? Go to the daily Teams meeting, ask a question, ask lots and lots and lots of questions. They can always send me a chat in Teams. Sometimes those are a little bit more on the bottom of the list that I see because I have several things open at the same time. But during our Teams meeting, absolutely, they can send me a chat if they don't want to ask a question because that's right in front of me. If they send me a chat after hours, I will be very honest, those, unless I have Teams open, I don't see, or on the weekend, if I don't have Teams open, I may not see. The very best way for them to probably get a hold of me at any time is to send me an email. And the next best way is for them to send me an actual text message. So let me come down here and click the schedule a meeting with my teacher. I do have right here, this is a cell phone number. It's a Google Voice number. So it's not actually my real cell phone number, but messages do go right to my voicemail. If it is during the school day, I will probably not answer. Either I might answer a text if I can do that without interrupting my teaching. Voicemails I will answer as soon as I can. If it's after 4 o'clock, between 4 and 8, I will try to get back to you if I can. If it's after 8 or on the weekends, probably not, because that's my time to try to get ready for the next day. As I said, if you want to try to set aside a personal Teams meeting, right, there are some options. I'm going to see what's going on with next Tuesday, because I was going to show you that I have Tuesday afternoon, and somehow all of a sudden that's not available, so I will need to fix that. Technology is really wonderful when it works. This Tuesday, there's a whole bunch of availability, so I have to check out what happened specifically for this Tuesday. I will make sure I get those opened up. So, but normally there's one in the morning, one in the afternoon. Once again, you can always send me an email anytime. If you want to send me an email and say, this doesn't work for me, 8 o'clock tomorrow evening work. I will do my very best to make those sorts of things work. We're at the point now where there are a bunch of students that are kind of behind. So I'm going to do my very best to help them get caught up. I truly believe this is a team effort. If there's anything I can do, send me an email, send me a text, leave a voicemail at this number, and I will do my very best to get back to you as soon as possible. Let's see if we can kind of get these students back on track. Thanks for watching.